DraftSociety.com presents a Premier League Draft Fantasy Podcast. Welcome to the Key Pass Collective. Your exclusive source for the information, analysis, and advice you need to dominate your fantasy leagues. Come on in. We've been expecting you.
Draft heads, what is happening? Welcome in to the Key Pass Collective. We've almost made it. Another season under our belts. Hope that everyone has had the type of season that you can hopefully hang on your refrigerator. But unfortunately, not all of us have. It's okay. No big deal. For those of us who still have pride and or something to play for, we're here for you. We're going to get you prepped for Gameweek 38 and just hopefully all the glory that comes with it, or at least, again, that pride that you can say, you know, I went to the end even though I didn't have anything to play for, but I'm that type of person. I'm that type of man. I'm that type of woman. I'm that type of fantasy manager. Anyway, welcome into our live stream for today. Again, Key Pass Collective. This is the audio companion to the Draft Society website. So, yeah, welcome in. Next year, we will be your number one go-to for all of your fantasy footballing needs. So whether it's rankings or stats or articles prepping you for game weeks or prepping you for the season, whether it's your draft kit, whether it is our brand new Fantasy Toolkit app that's going to help you make your pickups, waiver claims, all those things, Draft Society is the place to do it. So check it out. Check it out. It's a good time. Draft Society, independent fantasy football website, and we've worked really hard to make it happen. So please give us some support. All right, today we're joined by a couple of really fine gentlemen and a little bit of an interesting scenario. So we've got let's go ahead and bring in Totti. You're all well and used to Totti, but we're not necessarily used to him in the garden. So we've got a couple of tech issues we'll mention here in a bit, but we're doing the best we can. But Totti, you've made an office in the yard? Is this?
I have. Yeah. Firstly, the weather's fine. I have my little mosquito repellent torches set up around me, like a proper Captain Kurtz or something like that.
You know, I love a literary reference.
Yeah, and yeah, I have a very good friend of mine who has just returned from Australia after 5 years away, and we are giving him safe haven. And he's in the study where I usually record the pods. So I've had to make do with the garden, which is actually pretty nice besides the choppy Wi-Fi internet and the very few mosquitoes who make it past the torches.
Fair enough. No, it seems great. Yeah, it seems great.
Maybe the lighting gives me Sith Lord vibes, but
that's fine.
I'll dress for the occasion next time.
We'll buy you one of those ring lights. We'll buy you one of those ring lights over the summer. Maybe try to get you all jazzed up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mentioned some other connection issues. We've got also none other than one of the main, if you want to call him maybe the ringleader or one of the ringleaders of the Bantah Boys podcast, finally making his appearance on the KPC. We want to welcome in Sanjy. Just a warning, he does have a little bit of a delay that we tried. We just couldn't work it out. So we're just going to give him a moment whenever anything's directed his way. So Sanjy, how's it going, buddy? Good to have you on.
Yo, and welcome to Key Pass Collective. What's up, guys?
Yes, sir.
Good to see you. Good to finally hear from you. I think I'd rather take the poor connection than the mosquitoes and the ringleader than the Sith Lord. I'm not sure. But thank you so much for bringing me on to the stream. I really appreciate it, guys. Been looking forward to this day for a very long time, and I'm glad we finally made it happen.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Same here. Same here. Definitely. So happy to have you on. Thanks for getting back to us, and thanks for being ready at a moment's notice just to hop in for Ryan, who is slacking off somewhere in Blighty. I'm not really sure where he is at this moment, but
I think he's in Malta.
oh, is he in Malta? Okay, that's right. He's going there first.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, cool.
Yeah,
well, let's talk
about
about
him properly wasted as soon as I see him on the weekend.
Perfect.
Nice.
All right, let's talk about what we're going to be covering here today on the show. So, first of all, I mentioned the Fantasy Toolkit. This is your last week to try it out for free completely. So please do that. Please go on and check it out. It is literally an app that will help you with your pickups, your waiver wires, to help you with guys that you should drop based on our projections, based upon a lot of different numbers that we've run based on the things that we kind of like track at the Draft Society. So literally it's just an all-in-one place spot to go and figure out, how to manage your roster for this week. It's a pretty impressive tool created by DraftLad, and we're very, very proud of it. Next year, it will be in one of our subscriber packages, but for now, it's completely free. Check it out. There's a YouTube tutorial on it that I made, so have at it. See if you like it. Hopefully you do. And if you have any feedback, let us know. But actually on the show this week, we are going to start with actually saying goodbye to some fantasy legends. This is Totti's brainchild, and it's going to be a fun one. So we'll dive into that first, saying goodbye to some draft legends, some Fantrax legends, or wherever you play your version of Draft Fantasy. Then we're going to jump into some Liverpool thoughts. And this was inspired based upon a podcast that I listened to. We'll talk more about that when we get there. But they're a little bit negative, which is rare for some, I would say most Liverpool supporters. They're very, very loyal. And so this was kind of like an interesting look into the headspace of some of those Liverpool supporters. And then also in terms of a look into headspaces of certain supporter groups. We're then going to talk to Sanjy about Chelsea because... well, we have him on.
Do we have
to?
I
mean,
we can skip that segment altogether, surely.
I mean, whenever you're done, just tap like they do in the UFC, and we'll just move right along.
Just
we'll hit you with
fake a leg.
Right. Yeah, just fall down on the ground and start writhing around in fake pain. And
I'm just gonna yank the rotor at that point.
We'll finish out with Gameweek38 streamers and a couple of listener questions. So, Totti, kick it off for us. I'm gonna go ahead and make this full screen and so that people can see it. But you can go ahead and talk over it. We're gonna bid adieu to some draft legends, or are we? Some of them maybe some new landing spots? Question mark.
Yeah, we have a plethora of legends that may be leaving us. Essentially, those are the listeners that know me will see the thinly veiled attempt at trying to disguise an opportunity to talk about Firmino again for one last time. But yeah, it's essentially the Goodbye Bobby segment, not impeded by the negative thoughts of Ryan. I mean, all the rest are probably worth somewhat talking about, but it's just the Bobby Firmino segment essentially. But nah, I joke. But I think number one player we have already started talking about is one James Ward-Prowse, who obviously should be back in the Premier League, should slot into probably any one of the top 5 maybe from sort of third down to 10th teams easily, as a clog in the machine. But we'll see where he goes. I think I've seen Newcastle banded around for him, and the Tifo podcast that I personally, one of my favorite pods around. They suggested that Brentford would be an ideal place for him to land,
Oh wow.
because they are the best at set pieces across all of Europe. So adding James Ward-Prowse to a system that is already the best in Europe is pretty enticing, I would say. And they have not got the sort of solid names in midfield that couldn't be just easily replaced, like Matthias Jensen and Vitaly Janelt. I can see Ward-Prowse just taking that midfield spot, making his own. So that would be interesting. I haven't heard any substantial rumors about that, but that would definitely be very interesting for
Yeah,
JWP.
Sanjy, what do you think about those rumors? First of all, the Newcastle one, people a little bit worried about Trippier, obviously, and how that would affect his fantasy value next year. And then Brentford sounds pretty juicy. I think back to when Ericsson was there.
I'm just disappointed that we're not going to scream about being an awesome pick for next season, as I'm sure Ryan would love to hear. But yeah, I mean that's a genuine fear for Trippier managers for next season. They're surely going to spend a lot of money. They're surely going to get some big name, or at least 2 or 3, right? And if JWP goes across, it's going to be a serious worry, because I mean his free kicks are like penalties for any team.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a massive hit to Trippier. So yeah, I mean, let's see. I would generally think like James Ward-Prowse might go to a team like Spurs, even maybe. Like Spurs are a team that's desperate, crying out for a central midfielder. Totti, I know it's not something you want to hear, but they do badly
It
need
makes
a
sense.
central midfielder.
It does make sense. It does make sense. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and I mean Bobby Firmino, I think any team that gets Bobby, hopefully he stays in the Prem, would be so lucky to have him, right?
Amen, brother.
He's a gem of a footballer. Seems like a gem of a person as well. I mean, who wouldn't want that smile in their dressing room every game week, right? Yeah, it's gonna be more difficult to say whether or not Bobby will be a starting role though for any team, because I mean, how old is he? He's what, 29, 30? He's kind of up there in terms of age, right?
Yeah, 31 or 32 or something like that.
Yeah, he's over 30 for sure.
I would say if anything, he'll have less competition than he does or did at Liverpool, right? So I'd still like potentially roster him if he was staying in the Prem. But yeah, that Trippier fear is real. I'm hoping they don't get a set piece specialist, because I would love to be grabbing Trippier first round next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed there. I think I highly doubt Firmino goes to another Prem team. I think he would make a lot of sense in Spain, but then again, who knows if anyone can afford him other than maybe Barcelona. I think Barcelona makes sense, to be honest.
Everyone wants to go to
But
Barcelona these days, though.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, if they
people.
if they bring back Messi, that fucks with their FFP and La Liga registration stuff again. So who knows if they'll be able to get any other players in. So yeah, I doubt he stays in the Prem. I just put in the his 15-16 numbers when he was a top 5 overall player, scoring above 16 points per game. That was insane.
Wow.
But yeah, I think him leaving signals more of an end of an era for Liverpool than Mane does, due to the reimagination of the role that he played as a number 9. I think we as a Liverpool team are moving towards something different, which is totally understandable. Yeah, I just want. I mean, I hope Ryan's listening somewhere in the Maltese pub or somewhere out on the beach. Um, I've the only reason I think he doesn't like Bobby is the fact that he's Arsenal is his favorite target ever in the Premier League. Other than that, he is he is he's like he's the essentially the player that he loves in Gabi Jesus. He's
Yeah.
doing the exact same stuff. He's not so prolific in scoring goals. He's making others better. He's essentially a very similar role in a very similar player. So yeah, I hope distance makes Ryan appreciate Bobby more.
Carl, who is listening, who is from Spain, I believe, said
Yep.
that any good player who's free, quote unquote, is going to be a Barcelona target. It does make sense, but then he also mentioned that he wouldn't mind having him at Real Madrid as a backup. It actually makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I
he's
wouldn't
good
like
enough
it,
to
but
play for any team, I think.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, moving on from the two big names. Phil Coutinho, obviously the revival at Aston Villa was short-lived. I think he's gonna go to the Middle East or the US to sort of wind down. What a waste of an amazing player since he's gone to he's left Liverpool. He's been epically downhill. Such a shame. Adam Lallana, not a big draft legend, but I think we've those of us who've played for a longer time have had some great streams from him. Um, even at Liverpool, but sometimes at Brighton too. Um, Another interesting one who we don't know where he's going or if he's staying even is Zaha.
I think he stays.
Yeah. They're painting a mural for him in the town. Surely he stays.
Are they actually? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's under construction at the moment.
Nice. Yeah, I think I've read that they offered him a 200K contract, which would probably make him like the highest paid Palace player compared to the rest of the squad altogether or something like that. But
yeah, you'd have to think so.
I mean, it makes sense for him to stay because I think the days of when he was linked with the likes of Chelsea and PSG and the big teams are probably gone. So he's anywhere he goes is probably a lateral move that makes him have to fight for his place, have to start from scratch. Whereas at Crystal Palace he's a legend already. So why not just stay there?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, the next one is
No.
a shout out to our boy Genie, Shane Duffy. I think I've seen him reply to the official Brighton um, account or someone commenting on the official Brighton account whether he'd be invited to the European Nights at the Amex, and he said that he's definitely gonna be there. So I think I didn't even realize that he was at Fulham. I when I saw it, I remembered that he went there in the off season, but then I didn't even realize that he was there. So I think he's gonna go down to the championship or hang up his boots. He was a bona fide aerial monster and a legend that only the Fantrax and Toga folk knew full well how legendary he was. Um, yeah. I definitely want to include one of these guys. Just running through the rest, I think Digne leaves again. A very sad story. I think I am a big fan of his, and
Yeah.
it was such a huge blow that when Benitez didn't know how to use him and then let him go,
Yep.
and then his fall from grace since Gerrard left, has been really sad to see. So I hope he goes to again maybe Barcelona, back to his roots. Maybe Carel will come in with a comment on him as well. Again, it does make sense. Jordi Alba is leaving. They didn't have they were struggling for right back. They left. They let what's the U.S. The American guy called Serginho Dest.
Dest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They let him go to AC Milan. So they don't have any wing backs or full backs anymore. So yeah. Again, it's just we're playing agent, and the first port of call is Barcelona. Do you want this guy? But yeah. Aubameyang,
Oh
Sanjy,
God.
maybe you can attest to his credentials at Chelsea.
What
Oh yeah,
credential?
he can leave. He can go. I mean, it was always a weird like signing. I mean, you go back to his time at Arsenal as well. It's just bad vibes. Him as the captain showing up late to training, and not being allowed to play because of that. Like from the day you hear that, it's like, okay, this guy clearly is like a bad boy in that sense, right? I think there's just bad juju surrounding him, and I think he should have just stayed in Barcelona. He was having a good time. Why leave that good situation and come back to the Prem and be miserable all over again? Like, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up back somewhere in Spain or maybe Italy, because a lot of people tend to go there when they don't make it in the Prem as well. Not saying that's like a farmers league or anything like that, right? Because Inter Milan is in the Champions League final right now. So I mean, the likes of Smalling has ended up there, Tomori has ended up there, Mkhitaryan. So like a lot of Prem players end up out there. So I don't see why not. I mean, if he wants, he can go to Inter, let Lukaku come back home.
He actually started his career at AC Milan, I think.
Yeah, so and I'm sure they will have space because Ibra is surely not going to play continuously. Giroud is aging as well. Like they need some sort of I guess forward talent. I don't know if I can use more
Talent,
superlatives with his name.
talent.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to be nice about it, Tazi.
In his day.
Yeah, but we have to give it to him that he on his when he came in mid-season to Arsenal, when he came in from Dortmund, he was electric. He was I think after Bruno, he has been maybe after Bruno and Suarez, but most of the people listening probably wouldn't have played Fantra or Toga when Suarez came in. So in modern days, so to say, I think he was the second best January signing ever. So
Yeah.
I think that makes him kind of shoe in for the legend status. Like you probably don't have to be like properly long term amazing to achieve draft legend status. He's probably won a lot of players or a lot of managers their leagues the season he came in January and then lit it up. So I think he does deserve the legend status, and he does deserve this semi sarcastic farewell.
I mean, he won the Golden Boot, right? Lest we forget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, run us through these ones quicker.
Yeah. So quicker. So next one is Raul Jimenez, again, someone who came in and finished, I think, top 3 forwards in his first season or top 5. He's definitely going. He's out of favor with Lopetegui. An interesting one, I think, for me is Neto, who who hasn't been able to nail down the spot, and who knows where he goes or what he does next.
Yeah, he's never recaptured his form since his last injury.
Yeah, and the rest is like the big one for me is Lanzini, who is probably again going overseas at the end of his contract. Again, draft legend of yesteryear, and then the Leeds and the Leicester boys. Most likely, I think 538 has both teams at around 90% to get
Wow.
relegated. So we might be saying goodbye to one-hit wonders, Patrick Bamford and the Jack Harrison, and perennial amazing players, Maddison and Harvey Barnes.
Madison's not going anywhere. There's no way.
I mean, he's in the same market as James Ward-Prowse. I agree. I think both Maddison and Barnes go somewhere in the Prem, but we've seen stranger things. Like we thought that Buendia would be the first out at Norwich when they got relegated, and he stuck it out for one season in the Championship, came back in, got his big contract at Villa. Stranger things have happened.
It's true. That would be so bizarre to see Maddison playing in the Championship.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Well, I mean, Leicester kind of deserves to get relegated, right? I don't know if you boys saw the XG stats from that game versus Newcastle. I mean, it was a shock that both Maddison and Barnes were benched for that game. So I guess they just were like, okay, we're not going to concede any more goals because that's one of the reasons we're down there. But they didn't have their first shot until the 92nd minute.
Yeah, they were on 0.0 XG until that time. 0.0.
You deserve to go down after that. Like, what's the point of playing? You're not playing football at that point, right?
No.
Exactly.
And I mean, just the fact that they didn't come out swinging at all in that match. They just sat back, and it was just so, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to call anything like pathetic, but I really did not enjoy watching that match. I'll say that.
Agreed.
No. All right. Well, let's move it right along. I wanted to tell you guys about this podcast I listened to over the weekend. So I was walking the dog on Sunday, and I like this. There's a podcast called The Liverpool Way, and it's just three guys bantering about Liverpool. They all go to the matches, and so they're all very heavily invested, very, very loyal fans. And I was just really interested when they started shitting on a few of the Liverpool forwards after some of their performances as of late. And I just wanted to get you guys' take on this in terms of how this maybe plays into how we value them as fantasy assets for next year. So in regard to Mohamed Salah's recent performances, they said, I thought Mo was absolutely wretched. And this was the game against Villa. About Darwin Nunez, and he's sat out 2 matches with a quote, inflamed tendon in his big toe. The lads on the pod said, quote, we've managed to sign the only fucking soft Uruguayan in the world. And in regard to Diaz and his 2 rough matches in a row, they said Diaz stunk today and absolutely stunk up the place against Leicester too. So, I mean, I don't know that this changes a whole lot in terms of what we think in terms of what the starting 3 will be for next season, but I am a little bit curious to kind of just hear your thoughts on this run of form. I think from the forwards in specific, and also Diaz in particular. Does he hold that spot down over Jota long term?
Go ahead, Sanjy.
Well, I was gonna let the in-house Liverpool fan give his take before I absolutely butcher it. So,
okay, I can give you my take. I think Jota is being managed much more than Diaz is because of injury. I think Jota brings in this stretch of games. Jota has been one of the most important players for Liverpool, both tactically and obviously for goals as well. And I think he'll be heavily relied on. A lot depends on the outside chance of of maybe making the Champions League. But if they don't, I think they'll try to get to a good place in the Europa League as well. I think I think Diaz, fitness wise, was surprising to me that he started so early after being out for so long, and that I think he's just there because he's fit. He's definitely rusty, very rusty. So so I think they're just going through the motions. Um, I I am a bit surprised that we haven't seen maybe Fabio Carvalho get a run out, or Harvey Elliott get a run out at right forward instead of Salah, or even a longer a longer um, cameo at the end of a game. So yeah, I think Klopp is has always been reluctant to rotate in a way that some of the other managers have. So um, yeah, that's a bit of an issue. I think Diaz, with a full preseason ahead, still holds the left wing spot for me. As I said, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I think the number one or the first choice front three going into the season will be Diaz, Gakpo, and Salah, um, with Nunez and Jota coming in um, later in games, or either one of them featuring in a 4-2-3-1, which I hope we will see much more of.
Mhm.
But that all depends on what we can get in the ways of midfield, because for a 4-2-3-1 to work, we need someone of the caliber of Caicedo to anchor the midfield. Because I think like having someone, not necessarily Caicedo, but having someone who's strong and able to progress the ball either through dribbles or with passing next to Fabinho will open up the 4-2-3-1 much more, and then we can see either Nunez as the spearhead and then Gakpo sitting back in the number 10 role, or we'll see some minutes for Thiago in that number 10 role in the limited time that he'll be available every season. So I think 4-2-3-1 makes a whole lot more sense, even more so with this new inverted right back situation with Trent, because if we have two defensive midfielders, then we can afford one to sit back further a lot more. That would give Robertson a bit more of a chance to to roam ahead rather than form a left centre back in a three at the back. So I think the rotations offer much bigger opportunities if we get a solid defensive midfielder in. If we don't, and we keep pushing for these typical three in midfield type midfielders such as McAllister and Mason Mount
Yeah.
and the likes, then I think it will be a, a bit crowded up front. Because I do think Jota and Nunes need their minutes. They won't be like Klopp won't be able to manage their minutes and their satisfaction as well as Guardiola does at City. Someone will throw their toys out of the pram.
Yeah, I feel you. Sanjy, is that the front three that you still think is going to be leading the line?
I think it'll. Sorry about that. I think it'll be Mo plus 2. I think it's still too hard to call. I think we've seen from Klopp as well this season. He isn't afraid to bench Mo either if he has a poor run of form or a poor game substituted early, that sort of thing. But I still think Mo will be the main man in that attack.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, definitely there's a rotation headache, right? Not just for Klopp, but for us Fantrax managers when we're drafting next season. Because I would say the middle positions between Jota and Gakpo or Hakpo, however you want to pronounce it. The left-sided would be Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez. And I would say if you want goals, then you'd probably go Jota and Diaz. But if you want like team dynamic and team play, then you'd probably go Darwin Nunez and Hakpo, right? But the thing is, like next season's draft, I think if I don't get Mo, I think I'm just gonna look elsewhere for my my assets. I don't want the headache of trying to guess that lineup or just painstakingly waiting on that lineup and then trying to grab FAs and whatnot. I think I'd save my high picks for other nailed assets that are probably gonna play every single game throughout the season. And yeah, sure, they're not playing for a top 6 team, but I mean, they're guaranteed to start. They're probably going to be the heartbeat of the team. And the way this game works is that the points are a trickle down, right? If you can nail that one top performing asset per team, then I think you can kind of let go of your Hakpos, your Diaz, your Jotas, and your Nunez, right? So
yeah,
I think Hakpo is an interesting one because I think we are all in agreement that he's most likely to have the second most minutes after Salah.
Yeah, I think he's nailed down that Firmino role, and I think Klopp likes him there.
But I still think that he's not gonna get the second most fantasy points.
Yeah, that's fair.
Out of that front 4 or 5, whatever. So yeah, I feel you. I think with Tony's suspension, there will be decisions to be made. Discussing Mbomo and Watkins with these Liverpool forwards, because I think that's what you're saying, Sanjy, like a top level asset from a mid-table team sounds more enticing than a potentially high upside guy who's not nailed on from a top 6 team.
Yeah, like are you going to take a Mitrovic or any of these 4 guys that are possibly going to rotate and fight for each other's spot?
Mitrovic, not close. Yeah.
I think that's the way it could fall to you in your draft. Obviously, depending on where you are in the draft, right, next season. But those are the sort of decisions I think managers are going to have to make.
Well, what about the ones that Totti just floated? So, I mean, you're taking Watkins over all these guys, right?
Yeah, he's nailed on penalties.
Yeah. Mbomo?
Yeah.
I think given the fact that Tony is missing for a very long time and we've seen the attack function without him, I think it's worth a gamble.
Yeah, I think he'll start creeping up boards depending on who Brentford get. Obviously, they're probably not going to go into the season with Jan Wissa as their main striker. But again, they are a Moneyball type team, so they're not going to get in a big name to come in and just take over Tony's role. So I think Mbomo's got to be one that is going to creep up the boards as you get closer to draft day. But I'm probably not picking any of these guys before round 3.
I mean, yeah, and good luck with that. I mean, I think they're still going to be pretty overvalued. I think that this makes 2 realities potentially true. One of them is that they're still likely to be overvalued, and people will take them a little bit early. Though I do think drafters are pretty savvy. I think for the most part, especially in like community leagues. So I think that they will fall, and that's going to open up the possibility of people using a city tactic and maybe trying to scoop up as many of these guys as you can, which I think actually would be solid if you could manage that. Because if you have an entire bench of Liverpool forwards, then great. That's fantastic. The problem is if you have one or two.
Yeah, I mean, what happens? Okay, let's say you do grab all these guys. Why not just sell them off, build a war chest? Like I think Totti is famous for building war chests, from what I've heard on Twitter. And I mean, having a lot of money is also a good thing, because there's always players that will pop up in the, I would say, first 3 to 4 game weeks of the season that people would not have drafted at all, right? Not just from promoted teams, but maybe due to an injury that happens in game week 2, and an asset emerges from, like, let's say a top 6 club, right? It's always good to have money. I mean, right now, the only reason I'm making it far into playoffs is because I kept like $2 in my pocket, and that that got me my picks, right? So money goes a long way as well. So, and the thing is, if you do get these Liverpool assets that you're worried about rotating, there will always be other managers out there that will probably rate them higher than what you rate them as well, right? So
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, I think. The only thing is that besides Salah, who seemed to be made of steel, all the rest of these players could very well be injured by the time the Premier League kicks off. So
True.
Or at least one or two of them.
Evan has joined the chat, by the way. He's really excited to see Bantah B on here.
Evan.
Love us some Evan. All right, Sanjy. Sorry, we're going to bring your mood down now, brother. Okay, so our next segment is basically just called WTF Chelsea. So what viewers can see on the screen right now, and I'll just sort of try to dictate to a certain extent for people listening to the podcast later. What people can see on the screen right now is the top scorers for Chelsea on the left since March 1st, and then the top scorers for Palace on the right since March 1st. The most glaring thing is, we see Eberici Eze up at 178 fantasy points, Olise 158 points, Jordan Ayew 102 points, Gahey at 85, Joel Ward at 85. I mean, these are not fantasy studs. Kai Havertz, though, the top scoring Chelsea player at 88, followed by the now injured Ben Chilwell at 75, Raheem Sterling, who doesn't even play very often, apparently, at 68. All right, I'll stop. This is depressing for you, Sanjy, but tell us your initial thoughts.
I mean, it's not surprising, right?
Yeah.
Who's fifth on that list for us? Kepa. That is just hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fall from grace season for us. There are a few other slides that we have coming up that could probably make more sense of these numbers as well, right?
We can go. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I just was scraping some numbers, trying to put it together, just to kind of get an idea of what was going on with Chelsea this season. So I kind of broke down our current season by each manager, and yes, I threw Bruno Saltor into that. We've got to give him respect for his 0% loss thing, right? So yeah, it was just weird management. I think Bowley came in and it's his first time and it did not go well at all, and I think where you can see it went wrong is that I don't think he should have gotten rid of Tuchel in the first place. He should have probably kept him and then fired him at the end of the season, right? Because he was still winning the most amount of games, he was still getting the most amount of goals per game. And there was a interesting thing. I was just looking back season after season. Right now, we've only scored 36 goals in the Prem, and that has been the lowest, I think, goals for since 95-96. And 95-96, the reason I pulled that up is because I think that's when the Premier League started doing 38 games per season.
Wow.
So yeah, I think it has to be one of the worst seasons ever, right?
Yeah.
For us. So absolutely shocking. But I mean, the exciting thing about this is it can only go up from here, right?
Right. Yeah, no, naturally.
And so I think like Chelsea assets are going to be very undervalued next season's draft, and I think you might end up with some solid teams later on in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, this is really the reason behind why I wanted to bring this up, not just to sadden you, but yeah, I mean, since we're talking, that's a good reason too. Yeah, no. But since we're talking Liverpool forward, draft value, and kind of looking forward to that, I wanted to kind of like spend a moment on Chelsea just to get your thoughts. Okay, you're drafting tomorrow. What's your strategy surrounding Chelsea players and all 357 of them?
It's actually 358. One's coming back from loan. But no, I probably wouldn't touch any of the Chelsea assets because of how many players we have. I think that's the first thing that Poch needs to figure out is clean house, restart the loan army tradition, and send everybody back out to actually go play football. It's just been an absolute mess. Way too many. I mean, you imagine what Potter must have gone through, right? Having to make everyone happy and pick the best starting 11. Like, that's the same sort of headache that Fantrax managers would have had to have. Like, João Felix went for like a lot of fab in several leagues that I was witnessing, and he eventually dropped off the face of the earth as well. Kai became one of the best assets in Fantrax, and we've never ever seen that in this game before. And me as an owner, I was absolutely ecstatic. And I wasn't sad that Potter got fired and, we had to change manager. I was sad because Kai lost his spot in the team, and now I've got to go find another Chelsea asset that's going to perform.
Yep.
Right. So it's right now, if we're starting the draft tomorrow, no, I'm not going to touch a single player, because even you look at our wing backs. Sure, Chilwell's amazing, James are amazing, but the amount of injuries that they've been picking up consistently as well, it's a bit of a shit show. Yeah. So I'm not sure I'd touch anyone right now. I think just keep an eye on preseason. Watch out for what Poch says in pressers during preseason, and maybe that might give us a hint as to what's going on. One player I hope gets a nail spot though would be Badiashile. I think he came in really, really good, and sure, points don't tell the whole story, but on eye test, he looks like one of the most composed center backs that we have. And the amount of center backs that we have, who knows? We might end up playing a back three system all over again. And we have two of the best wing backs in the league, I want to say, arguably at one point, maybe a couple seasons ago even. It was after that 3-0 win versus Leicester. People were saying, oh, Chelsea's going to win the league now. But then I think one of them got injured, and then it all fell apart all over again. Believe it or not, I think we do have to buy another player, even though we've bought like half the footballing world by now. But I think
for what position?
I would say in midfield to partner Enzo. Like a Caicedo would be perfect. I think every club wants a Caicedo right now.
Yeah.
But he would. I think if you watch Enzo play football, I mean, he is one of the best progressive passers in the game right now. And I think a lot of people, I don't know if we're going to end up sleeping on him as a Fantrax asset, because at one point he was showing that he had, I guess, substantial output of like maybe 8 to 9 ghost points. So if we could probably unlock that, not only as like Chelsea Football Club, but then that's a potential sleeper asset that, might come up next season as well. But yeah, I mean, this entire ramble, don't draft Chelsea assets, guys. leave them for us. We'll figure it out and then tell you what to get.
Anything on that, Totti?
Yeah, I think I saw today an article that said that Todd Bowley is preparing to halve his amount spent on Chelsea. And the analogy I thought was that when you have like a turd in your
are you gonna create another poop soup? Is that what
this is another poop soup.
So you have a turd in your soup, and someone's saying he's gonna remove half of the turd.
Okay.
It sounds like a good thing.
Mm-hmm. It's progress.
But there's still half a turd in your soup. So that was my initial thoughts on the poop soup situation that is Chelsea. That said, I think I agree that there will be players who will be good. There will be players who will be usable streamers, but with the amount of Chelsea players or Chelsea fans rather in the Fantrax community, unfortunately they will not be streamers. So they on merit they will deserve to be streamers. I think most of them, like Mudryk this season,
Yeah.
but they will be drafted too high. They will be held too long. Um, and won't be able to give value to those of us who like to dip in and out of the Chelsea uh, hoop soup.
But I mean,
Just,
yeah,
just try to get the part that's not touching the poop.
right, right. um, yeah, I mean, like Evan's mentioning in the chat, he agrees that most of them will be drafted too high. That the more name recognition type of guys, but he thinks that there might be some late round punts on guys like Gallagher. So that's interesting. I mean, yeah, I guess there could be some hidden gems there, but yeah, I mean, if they play anything like they did this season, you're going to be able to pick any of those guys up off of the waivers after about week 6.
Yeah, but they're not going to be dropped. Like I think Mount should have been dropped around October, and most of my leagues he was dropped in February or something like that. And I think that will be the case. Like people will get overly excited when Chelsea go to the US and beat I don't know
Galaxy.
Galaxy or even someone like Bayern or PSG or someone like that, and then everyone will be foaming at the mouth saying Nkunu is gonna be the next second coming of I don't know Andriy Shevchenko.
Oh God! Just went straight for the jugular with that. No, but the thing is, like, I do believe that, yeah, like we should bounce back as a team, as a club, and all that, because management does play a big role in a lot of these players' outputs, right? You look at the effect that De Zerbi had on Potter's guys, like they're in Europe now, and I think definitely we should have like better chances of getting better outputs from our Chelsea players that we draft next season, but time will tell. The one thing, though, I think is if you do notice some Chelsea assets that are getting their spots early, get them as soon as possible, because we are not in Europe. That means we are less likely to rotate our assets as well. You're probably going to see a core, let's say, 14 to 15 guys maybe every game week. So that's one thing to note.
That's interesting.
As for the number of players, I think I've read it somewhere that Chelsea have a hard transfer deadline of their own, which is June 30th, when the end of the 22-23 season is a line is being drawn under the season, and they need to get a few players out by then to make sure that they are able to have some wiggle room financially and just for player numbers in the transfer window. So we'll see. I think we'll see a few released from the contract situations during the month of June already, and some transfers being agreed to players. I'd love to see Hudson-Odoi and Gallagher and the likes get a chance, but I think it's beyond saving now for them to come in and make a sort of name for themselves at Chelsea. The interesting one for me is Colwill. Because as you said, Badishile is a really good player, but I've read this week that his injury looks to be a bit more serious. So it's not weeks, but it's months, which means that
I think.
which means that he's missing the whole of preseason. Colwill is coming off an amazing season with Brighton. Obviously, Brighton will do anything to keep him. but they might want him back. He can go under the under 21 quota, so he won't make up the numbers in the senior squad. So yeah, he will be an interesting one. But yeah, and there's a lot of open questions. One is goalkeeper for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have the world's most expensive goalkeeper and the other one who was only 2 years ago by some fans voted or being pushed to be voted for the Golden Ball winner or the best player of the Champions League or something like that. So two on paper amazing goalkeepers, but neither looks like fulfilling the promise. So we'll see. Like I don't think there are spots other than Enzo's spot that don't have question marks around them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to Kepa who plays, right? Kepa's basically manager of every club he goes to. He doesn't want to come off the pitch. That's up to him. But yeah, I saw we got linked to like Onana recently. Today I saw a tweet about Navas. Like, yeah, I think with Bolly at the helm, we're gonna get linked to everyone, right? Because any club that has money to spend, the media is just gonna be like, okay, yeah, this guy's going to Chelsea, that guy's going to Chelsea. Like, it's gonna be all summer. It's gonna be absolutely ridiculous. I think based on how this season has gone, like even up to the most recent game where Mendy played against Nottingham Forest, you can see that I think Kepa has definitely taken that spot back. He has better distribution with the ball as well, and I would think maybe Poch wants a better ball-playing goalkeeper as well.
Yeah.
And it's not like Kepa's terrible at saves. Like, he can save goals or shots or whatever. So you'd think that maybe he is the mainstay and then Mendy is the one that has to leave. Because I do think, like, I wouldn't say Mendy is like, the top 5 goalkeepers in the league right now, but I think he's too good to be on any bench. Like, he deserves to be playing football as well. It's just unfortunate, that at any top club, you're always going to have, 2 goalkeepers that are vying for the starting role. So it wouldn't surprise me if Mendy leaves. He's done a wonderful job for us. But yeah, only one man can take that spot. So it'll be interesting what happens there. I mean, with regards to Colwill and everything, like, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he comes back in, given Baddy's injury and whatnot. Thiago Silva doesn't age. He's basically like fine wine.
Yep.
So it wouldn't surprise me to see Colwill, Fofana, and Thiago Silva. If we were to play a back 3, that would be 3 starting centre backs at the moment. But who's to say, right? Who comes back in, who goes out? I know Koulibaly has also been tipped to leave the club after just joining, which is, it's a shame. He was like tipped to be the biggest thing coming out of Napoli, but then he leaves Napoli and they win Serie A. So did we do something wrong? Like, what happened there? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with all these assets coming out of Chelsea, man. But yeah, you know what? I'm just glad the season's finally coming to an end. I can finally enjoy the summer. And we'll start the fresh season of pain all over again. So
yeah. To a lesser extent, I think we're happy to see it come to an end too. But at least we turned it around just a little bit toward the end of the season. But God, just what a strange season it's been, but also beautiful. And I will say that Brighton officially the game ended and they tied. They drew Manchester City 1-1. So good for them. That was solid. Another good performance in the books for Brighton.
Yeah. And
all right, boys.
Levi Colwill with the assist as well tonight.
Come on. If you want to call that an assist, he goes, here you go, Enciso, and Enciso just rockets one into the top corner. Cole has no idea what he was doing.
He got the points.
He sure did.
Exactly. Second assist of the double game week as well, So just saying.
Nice. All right. Let's move it on to some streamers for the week. So let's help some listeners hopefully set some lineups and set some waiver priority for this week. So 1 week players with a high upside, guys that maybe we're targeting or guys that people can target to try to come in and, help them win playoffs if you're in a playoffs league. help you snatch that title if you're in the running, help you avoid relegation if you're me in the IGL. All of these things, right? So we're gonna go ahead and run through some streamers for y'all. Let's see. Here are our fantasy football pundit clean sheet odds up top, which is wild. You have Everton at 44%, playing Bournemouth. Need to win to stay in. They can seal their fate by winning, and they will stay in the Premier League. So that's a pretty interesting one. I think a lot of eyes are going to be on that game this weekend. Of course, Arsenal 42% against Wolves for the clean sheet, and then everyone else in the 30s: Man United, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, Man City. So we probably won't talk about Leeds necessarily, but yeah, let's move it on to some streamers. Sanjy, you're up first. What do you got for us in terms of streamers? Who you like this week?
Yeah, so I thought I'd break it down into like a streamer per position, because we don't know what our listeners are like, what their situation is, what their dilemma is. So I mean, we've got extra ones in the background we can probably discuss after we've all given our picks, but I'll start us off with a midfielder, and that's Lewis Hall. So given his chance under Frank Lampard, I think we saw one of the previous slides where we had that breakdown of Chelsea assets, points per game, and total points per manager. So under Tuchel, under Potter, under Frank. I believe at the moment under Frank, Lewis Hall, yeah, so you can see in the top right, Lewis Hall is averaging the most points per game since Lampard has come into the fray. The thing is, like, it's a very small sample set. I think Lewis Hall's only maybe played 2 or 3 games at max, but he's still putting up the ghost points as well, right? And he's playing in this bit of a hybrid left wing back sort of role. So he's getting a bit of both, I would say, defensive numbers, attacking numbers. I would say he was unlucky to get an assist even the last game. I think it was Conor Gallagher that got the header onto the post. So the upside is there, I think, for owners. And Newcastle have gotten their Champions League qualification. It's their home game for Chelsea. And the thing is, what I like to kind of do in these last 2 game weeks is I like to punt on the home teams more, because it's like the last home game of the season. It's the last time to party with your team. The vibe is going to be high. The atmosphere is going to be high. So that's why I'm kind of leaning that way. And who knows what Eddie Howe's going to do with the Newcastle team, right? Maybe he gives a chance to all these kids and kind of just rest the other guys, right? So that's why I'm going to suggest Lewis Hall as a midfield punt. The next punt I have is a forward. So Edson Odward versus NFO. So NFO are safe in the Prem. I'm so happy for them. But they have been terrible on the road. Absolutely dreadful on the road. I think in like
unless they're playing Chelsea.
Last, 8 games or something like that. Yeah, well, I mean, believe it or not, I actually predicted them to get a point in that game, but we'll get back to that pain later. But if you look, I think so. I another thing I kind of like to do to help me make these decisions is I use this website like soccerstats.com. They usually have like form tables. So I look at like, the last 4 home or last 4 away, that sort of stuff. So if you look at like the last 8 away games, Nottingham Forest are bottom of the table, having only scored 7 and conceded 20. They're safe. What do they have to do, right? And Selhurst Park is an absolute fortress. They're bouncing like Roy back at the wheel, possibly there for another season. Like Eze is just balling so hard right now. So yeah, I think Nottingham Forest, this is a perfect chance for them to let the other 20 guys that they've signed to play as well. Let everyone get a run around. And I think Edson Odward, given the injury as well to Zaha, I think it's a perfect opportunity for him to get another run out and score some goals. I think he put up, 17 Fantrax points, including the goal. So the upside is definitely there, right? Next up, Everton defender, Yerry Mina. We've been shouting him on our pod for the last few episodes as well. I don't know if any of you guys had him this game week. He scored a goal versus Wolves last minute. I think it was the 98th, 99th minute or something like that.
Yep.
And Joe, you pulled up the odds, the CS odds. Everton are top of the table.
Yeah, they are.
Right?
Yeah.
So why not punt against a Bournemouth team that are safe? Even their manager said that they're pretty much on the beach. Like, they're not going in for tackles as hard. Like, they're chilling, right? And Everton, this is a must-win game. It wouldn't surprise me if Yarmina gets a goal as well, because Bournemouth are terrible at set pieces, defending set pieces. They have been
It
all season. So
it also wouldn't surprise any of us if he got injured in minute 70.
yeah,
Of course. No, absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
is also the other worry, right? But I mean, who knows? Maybe it's written in the stars for him to finally have this breakthrough season with Sean Dyche. It's just hilarious that I thought that for them to equalize, it was basically all three center backs, all defenders combining for the goal. Tarkowski
Yeah.
keeping it in, Keane passing it to Mina, and Mina like into the roof of the net. Like that's the most Dyche goal you can think of.
Yep.
And then finally, goalkeeper spot, Bentley versus Arsenal. Who is this Bentley guy? Like everyone told me about, oh, yo, there's this Bentley goalkeeper guy that's a midfield position, and we're just gonna play him. And then I think Fantrax broke for a second, and they ended up with like a bunch of illegal rosters all over the place. But this guy seems to know what he's doing. The eye test, he looks good. He's making more catches than saves, and that's pretty reassuring for a defense. If I have a goalkeeper like that playing behind me, he looks good in net. And Arsenal, I think, want to end their season on a high. They're very strong at home as well. They're probably going to take a lot of shots. And I think Bentley has a chance of, he probably won't keep the clean sheet. Let's be honest. Wolves have been dreadful this season, but I think you're going to get a lot of saves from him. But yeah, I mean, we've got other options to kind of list off, but I'll let you boys take a crack at this and let me know your thoughts on these picks.
Yeah, anything on these four, Totti?
I love all of them.
Yeah,
Bentley
same.
is a bit of an out there shout, but I love the reasoning behind it. Does anyone know what happened to Sa? Is he in a contract dispute, or does he have a transfer away, or because he wasn't bad, like it wasn't benching him bad. I thought I didn't know. I don't watch that many Wolves games, but
Yeah.
I haven't read or heard anything so bad about him that would have resulted in a goalkeeper being benched. But I don't know. Anyways, I like Bentley. He seems like a good one. The other one, I also who has come in and has done wonders is Ortega at
Yeah.
City.
Yeah.
He's had as many saves last two games as Ederson has since, I don't know,
He was born.
October. Yeah.
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 Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Totti, let's hear from you. Who do you got for 38 streamers?
Just for the record, I had mine in before Sanjy put his in.
Sure.
Yeah. So before I go to my players, I wanted to shout out three things actually. One is the last week of the toolkit that you already said this, but the projected starters are updating throughout the game week until the very end. So do go back to the toolkit and check it out. And if any of the listeners haven't checked the toolkit out yet, go ahead. This is your last chance before it goes behind the inner circle for next season. The other one I wanted to shout out is our Discord.
Oh yeah.
The team news channel is a gold mine before kickoffs. Draft Lad and someone named Kakarot, I want to say. I have no idea who it is. Just absolutely ball out in the team news channel and put in all the leaks and projected lineups and injury situations and everything. So if you are, you don't even have to be an inner circle member, because that's the team news channel is open for everyone.
Yeah.
So just DM us for an invite into the Fantrack Discord. But on 2B is that last season Draft Lad did a leaks thread for Gameweek 38, and I think I'm gonna spoil the surprise that he's gonna do one this season as well. So look out for that. And the third one I wanted to shout out is for anyone who is not involved in relegation, promotion, playoff final, last push for the league championship, avoiding the gold or the wooden spoon, whatever. So if
If you're on the
have
beach.
if you're on the beach and have nothing to play for, we have the game for you. It's the final day, perfect 11, $5 to jump in. We already have 40 people in. We should have another 100, 200 more to come in. Hopefully, all of the entry fee is paid out to first, second, and third, and it's essentially a mad rush, free for all. You can choose anyone from the pool. There's no restrictions, no draft, no salary cap. Just go for it. Perfect 11. It's always fun. We do one for the Boxing Day and the final day every season, and it's always very very much fun. So
Yeah.
go for it.
You really quickly too. You have number 5 on your list. Is you have one more thing to answer for, and that is this comment from Magnus. I haven't seen any Hungarian beer yet. I won't hesitate to take legal action if I don't see it before the start of next season.
Okay, I'll take up the challenge. I did. Magnus always comes in for wine nights. I had my trusty wine from. It's actually made by our neighbor here. Oh,
Nice.
it's nighttime, but it's there.
I thought they were going to be just standing there. Oh, hey, how are you?
No. It's our neighbor has a small vineyard at a lake
Oh, wow.
near Budapest, and this is their first batch. It's a Riesling, and it's very good.
All
To be
right.
honest. So
Nice.
so
All right.
yeah.
Well, we'll get Magnus some beer here at some point.
We'll do. We talked about some not necessarily draft themed pods, but
Oh, that's true. Yep.
beers
Yep.
beers could be an off-season pod. I think
Yeah.
we could do that. Yeah. So now I can go into my players.
Please.
I
Yes.
shout
Yes.
I shouted out all as well. But Sanjy has already said everything that needs to be said about him. Reece Nelson looks like he's leaving Arsenal, which means that he might get his legend status farewell game against Nottingham Forest or against Wolves.
Right?
That is, yeah. I made that mistake there, but yeah. So it doesn't matter. The opponent is similar of a similar level, I think.
Ryan's going to be so mad.
Yeah, so Reece Nelson and Emil Smith Rowe, either one of them is in the starting lineup come Sunday afternoon. I would go for both or either. If they go, Wolves is a decent matchup for attackers, and both of them will have. Nelson will have will have something to play for to say goodbye, and ESR will want to send a good reminder to Arteta that he's there and he's a very good player. And another two midfielders, both on different ends of the spectrum. Manu Lanzini, he's been playing a bit since West Ham rotates for the Conference League final, which also will be the case on the final day, because I think the Conference League final is next week, the week after that. So I think Lanzini will get a start in a farewell game probably for him. And the last one is the young midfielder from Brighton called Ayari. Um, he had a cameo 2 weeks ago, I think, and he looked very good. Brighton are already confirmed to be in the Europa League. I don't think they can move up or move down, so expect some unexpected names. Um, I'd probably stay away from the defenders such as Ofia and the likes because Villa will play to win as well, and I doubt they have a lot of training minutes in their legs, but midfield and attack go to town on Brighton players. We've seen these guys come in out of the wilderness and become world beaters. I think Joe, you will agree. I saw your comment in the Draft Society chat that Buonanotte was going to be a star. We've had Mitoma, we've had Caicedo, we've had McAllister, we've had Trossard to some extent. It's the Brighton way. So we'll get a sneak peek into who people can pick up in dynasty leagues for next season on the final day for Brighton.
Yeah, I like it. All right, beautiful. Let me throw mine out there real quick. Mine probably shouldn't take long because we've really discussed most of these teams already. So Kivior versus Wolves. I mean, you guys already kind of mentioned Wolves and how the fact that they don't score a ton of goals. So why not give it a shot? Know that you're playing for a clean sheet there. Essentially, you're not going to get any ghost points at all, basically. Joel Ward has been just killing it lately, and he's still available in some leagues, so that's worth checking out, definitely. Bobby Firmino, come on. If he starts, you have to start him. You have to. Pick him up just in case. You just got to do it. And same could be said for James Milner. Literally, when he starts, he actually is a really good fantasy asset, depending on where he is on the pitch. But yeah, I mean, if he gets a run out, I think he could do a job. They're obviously playing Saints, so that goes in his favor. This one's a bit of a long shot, but definitely not going to be rostered in your league. Lavia has actually, when you look at his scores, he's been playing really well lately in terms of just picking up random points here and there. So if you are really stuck, that could be one. And then my last one is just check lineups. Like, there are going to be so many guys who just come out of the woodwork. And where I would direct listeners / viewers is to our app. I would direct them to the Fantasy Toolkit and go and look at the guys who are not necessarily projected to start, but are projected for high scores. And those are the guys, if they do start, if just for some freak reason they start, those are the guys you want to slot in. So yeah, anything else, guys, before we leave streamers? Sanjy, you mentioned you might have a couple more.
Yeah, I've got a couple of names. I like that Lavia shot as well. A bit of a steady Eddie, I want to say.
Yeah. I mean, baseline points, right? He's not going to score a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple of names kind of jumped out last game week or a week before that. Cole Palmer, I think he's maybe 17% owned. He got another assist, I think. Did he get no? I think that goal was ruled offside. But Palmer actually assisted that Haaland offside goal. So I think he's definitely an asset that, like you said, Joe, check lineups. If he starts, I think he's worth a punt for sure.
Oh yeah.
Calvin Phillips, 15% owned. I think he got 8.5 ghost points as well. He could also get another run out. And the final name I want to throw out, because I'm not sure if Ryan Christie starts, who's also been killing it for Bournemouth, but just for the vibes, David Brooks. I mean, this guy coming back from cancer, playing again.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If you have nothing to play for, just roll him out.
I've missed him. Oh, how I've missed him.
put him in your lineup and feel good.
Exactly.
That's the vibes. Yeah.
And the thing is, Everton are going to be attacking. They need to win, right? So maybe they leave space in behind and Brooks gets a chance. I think he had a decent pop at goal the game week that just went by. So yeah, I think that's your vibes pick, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, there's other guys too, right? Like if somebody like Garnacho starts, if somebody, I mean, there's just all these guys, high upside guys. These are the ones you want to keep your eye on. And if you, I mean,
Lucas
if you-
Moura.
sure.
I mean, Leeds are terrible at. I mean, Leeds are terrible at defense, right? And they also have to attack. So, but
No,
that's
yeah.
a bit of a stretch, maybe.
No, man, no, I'm with you. Actually, I probably would. No, and I mean, this is the time when drop anybody you're not starting and just load up your bench with these high upside guys. Just do it. By the way, Totti, Evan agrees with you on Mora. So there's that. You got the Evan stamp of approval. All right. Anything else for either before we leave streamers?
No, I think
Cool beans. All right, sweet. So let's look at some Twitter questions, and then we do have a couple questions in the chat that we want to get to as well. So let's kind of go through a couple of these Twitter questions. We usually have a really good one from Drafter Thoughts. This week is no different. So we'll look at his first. He has said, "What's your game week 38 setup like? Are you guys multi-screening? Are you going to try to watch one match and then just avoid any highlights so you can go back and watch the other ones?" But then I think more seriously, maybe how do you deal with, in terms of your fantasy team, all of your lineups being released simultaneously? Are there any tips that you have, different windows, different tabs, whatever, on managing that?
So I have a good one for this, and it's a bit of a strange one, but for
Okay.
me, the actual ads drop the pickup. So when you're in the players page on Fantrax, and you pick someone up, and you go to your team and select someone to drop, that for me process is so much longer than just picking up players to your free spot. So as much as it maybe loses time for you picking up the best players, I always start on my team roster page and just drop everyone who is not playing, and then just go to the players page, and then I can go pick up.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I like that.
So
But
that's
you
just
got to remember to hit submit now and not next, because if you hit
Yeah,
next, you're just gonna
exactly.
be stuck.
Exactly. But if you hit next, and you select your player to drop, and then you finalize the transaction, then you end up on your team roster page. So you have to go back to the player page. You have to select starting from the menu again.
Yep.
And then you'll be at the same page. Whereas if you drop your players, the ones that you're not going to play, then go to the player tab and picking up with submit now, it makes you stay on the players page rather than go to your team roster page. So while you're losing probably the first and maybe the second most enticing guy, you're getting to the next ones much quicker.
Okay. That's very interesting. I always tend to open up a new tab, and then I will go ahead and go through the process of adding a player that I want, and I'll have it all the way up until the last click ready to go. And then as soon as I see that player is starting, I'll just go ahead and do the last click. So you can have like 2 or 3 tabs open this way, and it works. As long as you have the open roster spot, you can just go ahead and click it. Obviously, if you're gonna pick up a player and drop another one, then that's a longer process. So you want to, like you're saying, Totti, you want to have the open roster spot, so you can just click submit now, boom, done.
Yep.
What's your viewing setup, guys?
I'll be in Vienna with my most of my league mates.
Wow.
And we already have a pub picked out, so we'll be viewing all 10 games simultaneously.
Oh, I love it. I'm so jealous, man. That's awesome. Sanjy, what are you doing that's amazing?
I mean, just to touch on the I guess the what is the tips for the lineups? I think just to touch on what Totti said, something I just learned of a few days ago is when you go onto that filter page, that whole starting option as a filter, that blew my mind when I found out about that. I was like, why have I not been using this? Like,
oh yeah,
and the thing is, I think definitely one of the things is make a watch list and trust your watch list. Try not to overthink it. I would say go to your watch list first before you try to go through all 20 teams in the leagues, right? You're probably going to overthink it, and that 1 second that you overthink it, that player is gone. So
yep.
Make a watch list, trust yourself, there's a reason you've gotten to this stage of the season, right? So just keep trusting yourself, back yourself, right?
Yeah,
so.
that's what we always say on draft day, don't we?
Yeah.
You've done 2 months research and you're fucking it up on draft day.
Which is what we do. That's what we all doubt ourselves and then make a hasty click and you're like, screw it, I'm gonna go with Kai Havertz. Oh shit.
Yeah, I've got to pick Doherty in round 5, don't I?
Yep.
Yeah. I was there. But in terms of plans for Gameweek38, I mean, I have a family barbecue, so I'm just gonna make sure I have a starting 11, put my phone away, and just get absolutely plastered.
Good for you.
And just enjoy the sunshine that's in that we're finally having in England. But yeah, I think that's one of the things we need to constantly remind Fantrax managers and fantasy managers, depending on whatever format you play, is don't get too bogged down about the results, right? You can't really control any of this. A lot of this comes down to sheer dumb luck. Same way with that Totti said, like, you might grab Yeremina thinking he's amazing. First 5 minutes, he's injured, and then you're, oh my God, my week is ruined, but you don't know what's going to happen in the 99th or the 102nd minute, how much of extra time we're getting, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, just enjoy the chaos and watch match of the day or whatever highlight reel is available to you in your country. Just try to enjoy the time off. I don't know. Look forward to the summer. Yeah.
Everybody can watch match of the day, Sanjy. You just have to know how.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be the one to say that,
I will not tell you any sites, but
swearing is one thing. Advocating piracy is another thing.
Right. Yeah. I'm talking about poop soup as well. So there's so many different things.
That's a conversation best for Discord. Not the piracy, not the poop soup. What's up, Tom?
Poop soup Discord?
You can make that a channel. I'm sure you'd get a lot of chat in there. So
not the kind of chat we want. I mean, we're going to get some very very niche crowds with some very specific interests, we'll say. Anyway, yeah, Tom Husband says, what's up? Just joined. Good to have you, Tom. All right, so I'm gonna be parked at home, which is completely fine. Just gonna relax and enjoy it. I got the next day off, so I might even have an afternoon beer. We'll see what happens. Anyway, Drafter Thoughts, thank you so much for that. All right, guys, this is gonna make you think a little bit. This is our buddy Brisbane Brando. Who is the surprise pick for the draft next season, i.e. the pick that everyone will think you drafted too high, but they'll go on to boss that season? He would like a defender, a mid, and a forward. I have mine ready to go if you guys need a moment to think.
Go.
Okay. All right, so for defender, for me, this one, borderline. I think that people are expecting him to do well. I don't know that he'll fall necessarily, but anyway, just because we're still kind of getting accustomed to what he can do and to his fantasy greatness, it's joint boy Pedro Porro. I think he's going to be massive. I think he could score easily, as well as some of the more highly touted defensive assets, and you might get him a little bit later. My midfielder is Liverpool Alexis McAllister. I mean this. I really think that it's been, you mentioned Coutinho earlier, Totti. It's been so long since we've had any sort of creative presence in the midfield. And I just think just from sheer effort, just workforce, I think he's going to put up some points, and I think he'll have plenty of opportunity to do so. We've seen it with Curtis Jones. We've seen it with Henderson from time to time, but I think a little bit more consistency there, and he actually could be a decent fantasy asset. Finally, for forward, either one of these, Dango Unchained, I think is a pretty decent shout for next year. Hopefully he can put together a little bit more consistent run of not only form, but also fantasy points. And then it must be mentioned, Manuel Benson from Burnley is going to be insane. He's going to be, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, going to be quite good. So we'll see about that. But you guys got any thoughts on this?
The Burnley pick reminds me of your Norwich pick all over again.
No. Hold on. You do yours, and I'm gonna pull up his numbers just so you can see them. Like not his percentile numbers.
Was it Dowell or what was his name?
We don't have to rehash. I mean, it's fine. Everybody makes mistakes, and we're just gonna
Kieran Dowell, right? Yeah.
Kieran Dowell.
Yes, it was.
No, I mean I was just as high as you were, Joe. He went for me in my draft as well, and yeah, massive disappointment. But I mean, you got to take these punts, right? So
right.
Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yep, exactly.
So I mean, I'm gonna wing this one because I didn't prep for this as well. But let's see. I think defensive. The first one that comes to mind has to be Felipe from Nottingham Forest. That. He's gotten to Pinnock levels of consistency. And the thing is, I feel like an asset like Pinnock could potentially drop off given the fact that Raya is supposed to be on his way out. And I really worry for Brentford if they don't get a goalkeeper that is just as good as Raya in terms of making saves, because they do concede a lot of chances, right? In terms of forward picks, I would say maybe drafting Mbuemo higher than he should be drafted based on this late run of form, should be on penalties, should be nailed to a certain extent.
I actually thought about him for mine.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for him, I would say even maybe potentially Evan Ferguson as well. But the thing is, I say Brighton has a lot of forwards to kind of rotate as well. So that's a bit of a headache. Midfield is a bit tricky. I want to say Hamed Traore. That feels like a cop out a little bit
because everyone's going to be looking at him.
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
I know Ryan is going to be very upset that we keep throwing his name into the ring. But I want to say maybe Lucas Paqueta. I feel like he has the potential to blow his average draft round pick out of the water next season. He hasn't had a great consistent season like this season, really. But I mean, last few games that he's kind of played, he's been smashing it, right? I want to say maybe hovering on the high teens, in the 20s sort of output. So yeah, that's a player I think I'd be excited to draft, especially, we're talking about Lanzini potentially leaving as well, and he could be like the chief creator for West Ham.
I like it. Totti, you got any?
Yeah, I've got a few. So as for defenders, I will go off script and go Alex Moreno. I think Emery will sort out Villa, and the defense will be much more solid than this season, and he's shown some potential. I'm not gonna draft him like early rounds, but I think he'll defy his ADP.
I like that.
For midfield, my main one, or my first one was gonna be Paqueta as well. He's been lights out the last few weeks of the season, and I think Moyes will finally realize that he needs to get him involved in the attack as well as doing all the things in midfield. But I will go with an out there pick as well. I will go Jadon Sancho. I think he will be essentially forgotten in the draft, especially if United make a big splash. But I think he's shown flashes, and I'm not sure what happened this season with him, but an uninterrupted off season with Ten Hag should do wonders for him. And I think we were quite high on him coming into this season, and it all unraveled.
Yeah.
But I still trust that he has immense potential. I still remember his Dortmund days. So yeah, I'm still trusting him to deliver ahead of his ADP. And my forwards are one is not so much a sleeper in a sense that he'll be the main guy is Alex Isak at Newcastle.
Oh, yeah.
I think he'll probably go before the end of round 3.
Oh, easily.
But he could still outscore that ADP, I think, if he avoids injuries. The other one is Julian Alvarez, who I think honestly it amazes me how Haaland has been able to keep fit, and obviously they might have him on a different vitamin drip than they did at Dortmund, but I'm sure that they do. But again, Alvarez has shown that he would start for any other team other than Man City, I think. And I think he'll get more opportunities next season.
All right. I like it. By the way, Manuel Benson. Okay, I looked up on care of FB Ref. Non-penalty goals, 99th percentile. Non-penalty XG, 70th percentile. Shots, 98th percentile. Assists, 56. Expected assists, 82. Expected non-penalty, shot creating actions, 76. Passes, 76. Progressive carries, 99. Touches inside the attacking penalty area, 95. Progressive passes received, 97. So yeah, guys, I'm excited.
Is he going to be a mid? Is he going to be a mid, do you think?
I hope not. He's like a winger, right? So he's like, but the scary part is that FB Ref is comparing him to attacking mids / wingers. So it's anyone's guess. You know, we need forwards in the game, so I'm guessing that Fantrax will put him at mid.
You cheeky
what happens?
person.
Just what happens.
Yep.
Yeah. Evan also shouted out. How do you say this? Ndiaye
or something.
Ndiaye of Sheffield. I haven't watched any Sheffield this season, so I can't speak to that. But
that's another good show.
I'm sure you watched the Wrexham game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely, of course. I love Deadpool. All right.
There's 3 other names actually I want to throw out there before we move on from here. Midfielders as well. I couldn't think of the other spots, but what do you guys think about maybe it will be Matthias Jensen or Jacob Ramsey?
I'm not a huge Jensen fan. The other 2 are, I think, very good shots, especially Jacob Ramsey. Jensen, I think he's plateaued. I don't think he'll be better than this season. This season he had 2 really good spells, but in between he was droppable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair.
Ramsey has off games too, though. I mean, like he'll have games where you just got to know it going in. He's gonna have games where he gets you 1-0.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I think of all those, I think I like Iwobi the best, and he's he's shown that he can still do it, and at a fairly high level, which is wild because none of us really saw this one coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, this entire season, and he's now, we have one game week left, and he's got a fantasy points per game of 9.35.
Yeah. On that thought, Abdullah Doucouré in a Sean Dyche system in a similar role to what he had at Watford could be an interesting shout as well. He's just had his contract extended, so he's definitely staying for another season. So
yeah,
there could be some value in that Everton midfield.
Nice.
Behind Dwight McNeil, who's obviously a third-round pick.
Oh, yeah.
You just watch him go before the third round and be astounded. I bet you it happens.
Oh man, that would be wild.
All right, I got two more questions for you from the chat, and then we'll wrap her up. Magnus asking, what would you make of Enciso's performances? Will he be higher than Mahrez, for example? Oof.
I think Mahrez will continue to get 21 starts like he did in the past few seasons, and he will have his 8 to 10 game stretch when he is by far the highest scoring player in the game, and you won't get that for Enciso. I expect much more rotation for Brighton with Europa League coming in. That said, probably Welbeck doesn't feature as much. So there's definitely minutes to be played for Enciso. I think Mahrez's ADP will definitely be higher than Enciso's. So in that sense, he'll be available later.
I like him.
Yeah, I like him too.
I will say that. I mean, definitely. I don't know that I would. The Mahrez comp, I think, is a bit of a reach still. Trust me. I mean, this guy's a teenager. He's got all the talent in the world, and I think he is going to be incredible. And you could argue he already is, but I don't know that he's going to have, like you're saying, Totti, the opportunities just yet to play every game in and out. And he's probably going to be a fixture on your team, but there's going to be weeks where you have to bench him. He's not starting, or not in a good matchup or whatever it is.
Like the thing also, we don't know how Brighton's going to cope with Europe, right?
True.
Enciso's played 90 minutes only once this season. Correct me if I'm wrong. So who's to say, like, sure, he might be a great asset, but you want that consistency if you're comparing to Mahrez. Like, that's a fairly high draft pick that you're spending on, I want to say, an unproven asset. I do see the potential. I mean,
yeah,
I saw the potential when he scored that screamer versus Chelsea. I'm definitely never going to forget this kid. But yeah, I think that's a bit too steep to compare to Mahrez. You're comparing to like a player of the season, player of the year quality. So I think Enciso still has a bit of way to go, but potential is there.
Yeah, you're right, by the way. 90 minutes one time against United. Otherwise, I mean, it's actually alarming when you look at his numbers. Otherwise, the amount of times he comes off at 45 or 50 or 60. And I mean, it's painting a picture that is not super pretty in terms of just being a dependable fantasy asset.
Yeah, he'd be perfect for Wolves because Lopetegui loves making 45-minute subs. So
yeah, if Lopetegui's still there.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Did you see that? Insane, right?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Totti shared that today in the group chat. All right. One more question for you guys. And this one comes from Carl. Once again, Carl. You'll have to tell me how to say his name because I always want to call you Carl. And that's just like an American like douche name.
Carl.
You know, when you say Carl, I think of that YouTube video, the llamas video. Carl. That's what I think of.
Anyway, Carl is asking, guys, what do you have going on for Game Week 38? Do you have any championships in your future? Are you gunning for anything? Are you going to take home any silverware?
Yeah, I mean, so I think it got confirmed tonight that I beat Ryan in the Bash final tonight. So
nice.
I'm sure Ryan is listening to this live stream or recorded stream somewhere in Malta. He just chokes on his beer and is like, "Oh my god," But it was a good matchup and whatnot. But I mean, we're hoping to, like Ryan kind of alluded to, we're hoping to kind of bring that five-a-side format tournament to the community leagues next season. We're gonna collect some feedback, and hopefully, Joe, you'll be able to join. Totti, you were also in that league, right? I'm not sure what your thoughts on that were. Would you play again next season? What were you?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I went a different route to. I gave myself a challenge of playing and drafting players that I did not have on roster in any of my leagues. So I went Reece James, Dejan Kulusevski, and Anthony Martial, I think, in the first 3 rounds. So expectedly that's nailed me to the bottom of that league. But
that'll do
it
it.
was
Yep.
fun.
That will do it.
Fun. It was fun.
But yeah, I have that one, and then I should be going into a playoff final in 38. I think my score is like 144-70. The other guy just has Anthony left. I'm all out. I think
you're
that
fine.
should be safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's in our Bantah Boys league or whatever. I'm not I kind of took this season off because I kind of foresaw, it's gonna be a difficult year, a year of transition.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to focus on the community leagues, but I'm hoping to be back in the community leagues next season. I mean, that green jacket looks very, very tempting. The one that kudos to Robbie. Yeah,
Robbie, they're sizing him up as we speak. Yeah.
You're gonna need to make some big arms. That guy lifts a lot in the gym.
He sure does. I'm seeing his Insta, man.
Yeah, exactly. If anyone needs training tips, go check Robbie out. Right? He'll definitely be able to sort you out. But yeah, other than that, nothing too, I want to say, braggy about like money or anything like that. But what about you boys?
Totti?
I was second in my home league for a very long time, and I played the guy in first last week and lost. So I thought that the league was gone, and then the guy in first is currently losing by 20 odd to the guy in last.
I love that.
So I'm still in with a chance. I am 2 points behind. I have Varane to go, and my opponent has Shaw. So it's not looking very likely, but I mean, I'm hoping for a Shaw minor hamstring injury or something like that.
Just a niggle. Yeah.
That will keep Shaw out, and that will make it interesting until the end of the season. That would actually have me. Now I'm 2 games behind, so that would actually have me 1 game behind for Gameweek 38. I doubt it happens because I think Shaw plays, and I think Shaw outscores Varane on his own. Doesn't make up the 2-point gap, but we'll see. And that's all I have to play for. And the final day perfect 11.
Nice.
Yeah.
I personally am going for third in the community league. It's a long shot, but I could potentially do it. I'm stomping Prosh this week, who will definitely listen to this. So sorry about that, buddy.
If he doesn't have enough to complain about. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I think he's
also a Chelsea fan.
Switched off at the Chelsea part.
I know. I'm sorry, buddy. I no. I can't let you win. This is I can't. I want you to feel good about yourself, but not because somebody took pity on you, but because you're going to come back and just dominate next season. Anyway, all right. So hopefully going for third. We'll see. And then in my other league, I'm fighting relegation because I drafted Joao Cancelo. So yeah, I have one more win that I need against formerly named King Arthur and now named King Pablo. on Twitter. Check him out. He's a good follow if you don't. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. We will see what happens.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thanks, man. Sanjy, it's been an absolute blast. Tell people what you've been up to, where they can find your work and all the things that you do for the draft community.
Yeah, so our Twitter handle is at Bantah B. I mean, you can find us on most platforms, depending on when I post to YouTube and stuff, but mostly Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that sort of good stuff. Yeah, check out our podcast. We've got a Discord going as well. We're thinking of doing some YouTube stuff next season. We're going back to the drawing board, trying to figure things out. But I mean, shout out really goes out to you boys, right? You guys are like the hub of everything draft related, right? We just like to get together and chat shit. And if you want to listen to friends chat shit most of the time, yeah, I think that's you come to us for that. But yeah, honestly, it's been a real pleasure being on stream, following you guys all season, looking at you guys grow season after season. It really is an inspiration to all content creators, I want to say, not only in the draft community. So I mean, keep doing what you guys are doing. We will try to keep supporting the community and doing as much as we can for the community. But yeah, I mean, we're all in this together. So just looking forward to the next season already, really.
That's high praise, man. We really appreciate that. I always tell people if they want a good time, if they want to have a laugh, and maybe they'll be lucky enough to tune into one of the episodes where you're drunk. It's just a blast. Just laughs a minute. Yeah, man. No, you guys are great. And yeah, just like Carl just said, don't undersell yourself, man, because you guys are a good time. And
I appreciate it so much.
You're a fun listen.
Thank you.
But thanks for coming on here. Totti, any last words? Last words. You're not dying, but
no, I mean I'm touched by Sanjy's words, and appreciate it. And it was great to have you on, and let this not be the last time.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. Would love to be on again. Definitely.
Perfect. We'll keep you on speed dial for any time that Ryan is traveling, which is a solid 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the invitation goes the other way as well, right? You guys are more than welcome to come hop on the pod anytime. And just bring a drink. That's all we ask.
Yeah, love to. Yeah,
we love to drink.
All right, listeners, it's been a blast. Thanks for tuning in if you were in the live stream. Otherwise, if you are listening to the podcast, enjoy. Thanks for making it this far if you did. Obviously, listen to Bantah Boys. Thanks for listening to us. Check out the website. This is the last week to test out the Fantasy Toolkit, so do that and join the final week Perfect 11. If you need any further information about that, DM Totti or the Draft Society. We'll get you involved. All right. It's been great. Everyone, KPC out. We'll talk to everyone soon. Cheers.